Look what Haman said. So look what happened in the text. Haman said, dispatch the swift messengers into all provinces of the empire, giving order that all the Jews, young and old, including women and children, they must be killed, slaughtered in one single day. This must be scheduled on March 7th. Do you guys remember October 7th when the evil, wicked Islamic State of Gaza in Palestine chose to kill and butcher at least 1,000 Jews? They chose to rape the women, mutilate the children, kill and behead, and take 241 hostages. So many people don't understand that spirit of Hamas, that spirit of Haman, what is actually going on. Do you guys remember a few months ago when there was a terrorist attack with 15 Jews were killed in the land of Australia, and Anthony Albanese, who was a free Palestine activist 20 years ago? What a clown. He's like a goal kicker, that guy. He's kicking goal, the biggest terrorist attack in the history of this nation. Not just that, the biggest Jewish massacre since the Holocaust. Kicking goals, breaking world records. And that's because he doesn't understand the reality of the last days. He can't fathom and comprehend what is about to happen. He can't understand that this is what's about to happen in the last days. And that spirit of Haman that is manifested in the organization of Hamas. Hamas is literally the terrorist arm of Muslim Brotherhood. My family escaped the Islamic world in Egypt in 2007 because the Muslim Brotherhood were about to kill my dad, who's here today, who's for preaching the gospel. So Hamas is literally the terrorist arm of the Muslim Brotherhood. Not just that, Iran has been funding this whole entire thing. Again, it's the spirit of Persia, and that whole spirit of Haman have been manifested across time, space, and culture. You see in the book of Exodus when Pharaoh decided that he's going to kill, butcher, annihilate every single Jewish baby. It said that he was going to kill and butcher every Hebrew baby by throwing them in the river. Crazy stuff. And the reason he wanted to kill them, the reason he wanted to butcher them, because they were growing in numbers. Population is power and demographic is destiny. People always say, the Jews control the world. The Jews run the world. I'm like, dude, they don't have the numbers. Hitler killed 36% of them in 1946. 36% of the Jews were killed. Not just that, the Jews at the moment across the world, there are only 16 million Jews out of 8 billion people. Jews comprise 0.2% of the whole entire world. Christians comprise 30% of the whole entire world. Muslims comprise 24%. Jews are less than 0.2%, 0.19% to be exact. And they are still lower in number and population since the Nazi Germany. So we see the whole spirit manifested. A few chapters later, you see the exact same thing with King Herod representing the ancient empire of Rome, where King Herod decides to kill and butcher every single baby in the land of Jerusalem. The Bible said Rachel is crying and weeping in the streets of Ramah because her children are no more. And finally, you see Nazi Germany rise with the exact same spirit against the Jews, to butcher the Jews, to kill the Jews, because Jews are the most hated people in the whole entire world, and Christians are the most persecuted people in the whole entire world. The Jews are the biological people of God. The Christians are the spiritual people of God. That is just a biblical fact and historical reality. That is why the goal of the enemy is to kill, annihilate, and genocide. And that same spirit was operating in Iran. You can literally see Ali Khamenei, who President Trump killed. Look what he said in Iran. Again, this is very interesting because Haman and the kingdom of Persia was in Iran. So you kind of see the exact same spirit maneuvering and operating in the exact same. Look what Ali Khamenei said. He said, the foundation of the Islamic Republic is the opposition to Israel and the elimination of Israel from the region. Wow. It's crazy when you saw so many people across the world not being able to understand and comprehend what is going on, because it is the same spirit. It's the exact same reality. It's a spirit of Hamas. It's a spirit of Haman manifested across Australia and across this nation. And finally, that same spirit comes to Hamas. What is Hamas? Hamas is Islam in action. Hamas is not just Islam in action. Hamas is Sharia law actually applied. Look what the mission of Hamas did. It's very important because it's very mind-blowing when you read the book of Esther and you see the actual demonic scheme from the evil, wicked man of Haman, and you watch people across the globe like Hitler, who was a Nazi. Oh, my socialist, can I get an amen? Hitler was a socialist. Nazi meant National Socialist Workers' Party. You know what's funny but not funny? At the moment in Australia, our Prime Minister is a Workers' Socialist Party. Wow! There is a weird, unholy alliance across time, space, and culture between the pagan socialist and Islam. Literally, when Hitler took over in 1941, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem went to live in Germany in 1941 to 1955. That Grand Mufti who fought literally in World War I, which is literally between the Anzacs and between the Ottoman Empire. People don't know the history because liberalism, it's not the freedom of religion, it's the freedom from religion. What happened across the Australian history, they went through every single page, whatever you learned in university and school, and they literally removed the God and religious component from it. The reason World War I happened is, number one, because of godless communism. But number two, it was because of violent Islam. Islam and Ottoman Empire were literally genociding Christians to the point that right now Turkey is 0.1% Christian out of 90% Christian in 600 AD. So Christians were literally genocided, and there was literally the genocide of the Christians in Armenia that the Christian world had to act. So that Imam Mufti was one of the actual soldiers in the whole Israel, in the actual place. He was hired by Hitler full-time to create and manufacture anti-Jewish propaganda. His goal was to expand the annihilation of Jews, because Hitler killed 6 million Jews, which is 66% of the Jews in Europe, which is also 36% of the Jews of the world. Hitler didn't just have a vision of killing all the Jews, he had also a vision to kill all the Jews in the Middle East. So he made a deal with the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, that Islamic man, in order to kill and butcher the Jews from the Muslim land after he's finished with Europe, if he wins a war. So a lot of young people here, you are a little Muslim and you're a little Nazi and you don't know it. It's like we used to have gay Jesus, we used to have woke Jesus, we used to have progressive Jesus. Now we have what you call Muslim Nazi Jesus. Look what Hitler said. It's very funny but not funny. Again, I'm trying to get you to understand what is happening in the world around us. What is actually taking place? Look what Hitler said in his speech about Jews. He said, the personification of the devil as the symbol of evil assumes the living shape of a Jew. Candace Owen posted yesterday, Ben Shapiro, the conservative Jew, is satanic. He worships Satan. I'm like, really? He worships Satan? It's a bit extreme. No. Nazis believe that Jews are the personification of the demonic. And this is the problem, is that Jesus was a Jew, not a Muslim. This is the problem, is that the God becoming man, the divinity embracing humanity, that the author of the story chose to pour out himself into a Jewish vessel, that the divine became manifested in a Jewish human. So this is very problematic. So we have at the moment that Muslim Jesus going around, because the Christian Jesus can forgive your sin because he died on the cross. But the Muslim Jesus cannot forgive your sin because he didn't die on the cross. He was taken by God to a different dimension. The Christian Jesus is actually born in Israel. The Muslim Jesus is born in Palestine. The Christian Jesus loves the Jews. In fact, the gospel was sent firstly to the Jews, then to the Gentiles. In fact, the reason we received the gospel is because the Jews rejected Jesus. And what God is doing at the moment, Pastor Lee will be speaking about next week, is that God is using the church to make the Jews jealous of the free gift of salvation. So Hamas is Islam in action. and Palestine is Sharia law in operation. Because Islam has a goal, and the goal of Islam is to conquer the whole entire Christian and Jewish world by killing and butchering all the Christians, by raping the women, by destroying the young children, and by killing the men. Islam has a constitution which is called Sharia law. Islam has a mission which is called jihad. Islam has a dream of conquering the whole entire Christian world and implementing Sharia law. And under Sharia law, you will no longer be able to preach and proclaim the word of the Lord, because freedom is fundamentally Christian. And liberty is fundamentally biblical. It's not a Muslim thing. It's not a communist thing. It's not a godless thing. That is why the violent Muslims and the pagan Easterns and all the godless communists from China are coming to the West, because of freedom and liberty.